Learn GraphQL Sandbox, learngraphql.com is a great app from Arunoda that teaches you GraphQL. And on the left side, over here, we have our query. And this is just a string that right now we're just sort of in a query IDE. We're developing our query right now. When we are implementing our app, we will be copying and pasting this into a string in our code on our client side. So on the left, we have the query, and on the right, we have the response from the server. So right now, we want a list of authors, and we're just gonna get their name. And so we see over here, we have authors, and we have an array of them, and for each one, we just have their name. We can also see what the other fields of an author is by doing control space. You can get their ID or their name or their Twitter handle. We already have the name. Let's do their Twitter handle. Command enter does the request, and the response comes back from the server, and it's displayed on the right side. Now we have Arunoda's Twitter handle is at Arunoda. We can also look at, so the authors is like a top-level query. We can look at other queries, again, by doing control space and seeing what the options are. Let's look at the most recent posts, and Command Enter just expands that and gives you all of the possible fields. Let's say we didn't need ID and we didn't need these two. It's giving us an error on the right, which is very helpful, and it says you need an argument named count of type int. So here is where we put arguments to our queries. Let's have a count, and let's get 2. So we start out, we get authors at the top, that's we already queried up here. And then at the bottom we have recent posts, and there should be 2 of these in this array. And for each of them we want the title, the category, and the summary. And if we realize later that we needed some other piece of data, we can command space, like, oh, I wanted the content. And now you get the content of the post. Here is a common features, whatever. So this is what GraphQL looks like from the client's perspective. You have this string, you say what data you want, you get it back, and it's in the same sort of structure that you put it over here in. So it's like on the left is like sort of JSON, but without the values, only with the attributes. And then on the right, you get those values filled in. So let's talk about GraphQL versus REST. So GraphQL is built as a REST replacement, and I think in most situations, if you're in an application getting data from the server, it is better, and here are some reasons why. It's easier to consume. So whenever you're designing something, you're thinking about who's the main user and how can I make it work best for them. So for GraphQL, the main user, I would say, is the front-end developer. And as you saw right here, it's really easy to say what data you want, and then you know exactly how that data is coming back. Think of a REST API. If you hit like /posts, you're going to have to look up their API docs to figure out what the response data is, or you're going to need to log it. But here, just based on your query, you know what the data format is going to be. You don't need to look it up or log it or anything. So that's really nice. Another thing is that sort of using REST is more complicated because there are multiple endpoints, and sometimes you might have to query them in series. Like if you were looking for a list of posts and then you want a list of comments, you might first do a REST AJAX request getting /posts, and then once you get all that data back, then for each of the posts you would hit another API endpoint /comments /post ID or something to get the comments for each of those posts. So that has a lot of latency because you're doing 2 round trips to the server before you can display the comments of your posts. And there are different solutions in REST world for this. One is adding a query parameter to /posts, saying like /posts, ? And inflate all of the comments. And so your JSON will not just get the posts with the comment IDs, you'll also get the entire comment bodies in your JSON response. That's one way REST APIs reduce the latency, getting all the data in one. Another way is you could have another endpoint like /homepage, and you know on the homepage, I want all the posts and all of the comments. Both of these things can so either adding query parameters or adding endpoints, they can get very complex pretty soon. You can have like, oh, I want to inflate this part, but not the comments, and so you keep on adding query parameters, so it gets pretty complicated. Or you keep on adding endpoints, and you have like lots more code and a bigger service area to think about and search through the docs in. So that's some of the reasons why it's easier to consume, so easier to write your queries.